Hey everyone, this is Jen and welcome back to BPD Woman. On this channel, I talk about all things BPD, primarily living with, coping with, and strategizing my recovery with BPD, also my experiences along the way. Thank you for tuning in. As I always preface, I'm not a doctor, a PhD, a life coach, but I am someone with some expertise in the disorder. After living and treating the disorder for about 20 years now, I have really gained a lot of insight and definitely have made some strides along the way. Of course, there's always room to make more strides, yeah. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about a DBT skill. Dialectical behavior therapy is something that I talked about in my last video. And in today's video, I want to talk about a skill that I used today that helped me feel better about myself, helped me handle a situation more effectively, and also helped me maintain a friendly relationship, which is important, right? So again, please like, share, subscribe. Your comments are invaluable to me, so please do comment along the way, ask questions or propose topics. That would be fantastic. Share with your friends. So in today's video, like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about DBT skills. And the DBT skill that I wanted to talk about is in the module of emotional regulation. Okay, so let's talk about what emotional dysregulation is, right? So emotional dysregulation occurs when you feel upset, uneven. In a previous video, we talked about, everyone kind of has an emotional baseline in their life. And when you notice someone's deviated from that baseline, perhaps someone that's always super gregarious and outgoing is now withdrawn and sullen and you haven't heard from them in a while, that would be a change in baseline. Someone that is generally the life of the party seems to be very depressed. That is a deviation in their emotional baseline. For those of us with borderline personality disorders, our emotional baseline kind of goes, right, like this, is what we've called the emotional roller coaster or the emotional Ferris wheel, where one dysregulating event can compound another, make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you are what we call on the emotional Ferris wheel. And the emotional regulation tools, of which there are many, help in running interference on us wanting to act on those emotions. So think of a time that you have been super emotional, super dysregulated, and wanted to act on that emotion. And if you did, think to yourself, was it an effective outcome? Did you burn a bridge? Did you lose a friendship? Did you say things that you regretted as a result of this behavior? Did you in turn feel worse about yourself? Maybe that started off an emotional Ferris wheel where at that point you then, self-harmed, or you went on a bender, or you isolated. This is why, for me, the emotional regulation skills are almost probably the most important part of the DBT skills, because for me, most of my issues stem from one very problematic feeling. What do you think that is? It's anger. Anger for me has always been problematic. And believe me, I've thrown every tool at it, every class, every book, every YouTube video, meditation, yoga, aromatherapy, massage, you name it. It's still something that I always have to manage, right? And it's called anger management. It's not called anger abolishment, right? This idea that you're never going to get angry is total bollocks. That's not possible. That's not possible. It's how you act on it and when you act on it that is is key. So, and because of my anger, I have torched a lot of relationships. You know, even now, I find myself, you know, not having as many friends as I would like. I have friends for sure. You know, I have a strong client base. I feel very fortunate. But, you know, I also don't have family surrounding me for good reasons. And we can talk about families and borderline in another video. So it's always been important for me that I like tune into that dysregulation. Now, there's been a lot of push over the years to rename borderline personality disorder to emotional dysregulation disorder, or the highly sensitive person disorder, because borderline isn't really an accurate description for what this disorder is. The good thing is that it is a behavioral disorder, which means that it's just maladaptive behaviors that can be modified. So let's talk about what opposite action is. By definition, the skill opposite action in the DBT module, emotional regulation, is defined as such: doing the opposite action when it is most appropriate. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, I think for a lot of us, and chime in with your experience here, tell me what your experience with this has been. For a lot of us, we create a narrative, right, in our mind. We may interpret someone's scowl as a direct, you know, personification of how they might feel about us. Somebody that we know that is walking their dog on the sidewalk, but they don't look up and talk to us, we may think they're suddenly a jerk, or, you know, what the hell is wrong with them? Like, why didn't they say hi, you know, hi to me? For me, a lot of these feelings stem from the feelings of rejection, and sadness, which percolates as anger. You know, if you think about an iceberg, right? This is the iceberg above the water. Let's call this the anger part of the iceberg. And below the waterline, down here, is jealousy, hurt, sadness, frustration. Those are all of the core components of the anger iceberg. So, for me, it's always been really key to try to grab whatever I'm feeling. That's always the first step. Okay, being aware of what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling this way. So in my building, I have had a number of unpleasant exchanges with not only the property managers, but also with some of the residents. And I think, I'm sure that I'm pretty vocal, you know, like when I see my rights being trampled on, or I see something that's not right, I tend to be pretty vocal. I always don't have the softest delivery on that, but so I can become very outspoken. And so I'm a little bit, I think, heightened is a good word, heightened when it comes to my interactions with some of the property management staff. And I've, you know, a little backstory is that I have gone to their regional manager on a series of pretty serious complaints. And so now I feel a bit of tension with the property management. So when you walk into our building, the property manager's office is mostly glass, and it's kind of set above, off to the left of the main entrance, so you can always see the people that are sitting inside the office. And there's one young lady who, you know, much younger than me. She's got to be 20 years younger, maybe 15 years younger than I am. She works in the office full time, and she and I have generally had like a really good rapport. You know, I'll bring my dog in, she gives my dog a cookie, she says hi, we'll joke around, you know, I'll compliment her on her outfit, you know, just small chit chat, right, to get you through the day. And I've normally found her to be very helpful. Well, in the past, I would say week, I've noticed that when I walk by, I have noticed when she's sitting there, she's not really making eye contact with me anymore. She seems more withdrawn, her expression seems more blank. And I'm like, this is really different. And immediately I go to catastrophizing, and I say to myself, oh, I bet the other property management staff have talked to her. She doesn't probably like me anymore. I bet the management company has told her not to talk to me. Right? This is the narrative that my mind starts creating. And I started to really get pissed off. And over the last week, and I'm like, well, I'm starting to think like, well, what did I do? Like, I didn't do anything, right? And then I'll rationalize with myself, well, it doesn't really matter what she thinks. It matters what I think about me, which is that's absolutely right. It is more important what you think about you, giving yourself self-validation. Did I live up to my goals? Was I the best me? Do I like who I am? Rather than always seeking that outer validation, even though it's important, it is important. We all need it. It's more important about what you think about yourself. And then I started thinking, well, if that's the case, then I don't have any friends in property management here, and I'm going to leave, and I hate this place, and this neighborhood sucks, and I'm never going to have any money, and blah, I'm going to be alone, right? This is all because this all started over a girl's facial expression. So today I was coming home, and I knew she was going to be in the office today. It's a Saturday. It's a slow day. And I was thinking, I thought to myself on the way home, I'm carrying all of this tension and worry about this situation. And you know what? Like, this probably has nothing to do with me. So here comes starting a different narrative, right? It's always important when you're writing your own narrative, or what your interpretation of an event may be or a situation. It's important to ask yourself, what am I leaving out of this equation? Am I interpreting this the wrong way? What are the other reasons that she may be tired? Or what are the other reasons that she may have this expression and look so withdrawn? Could she be tired? Could she be sick? Could she be having stuff go on at home? Could she hate her job? Could she be overwhelmed with emails? Who knows, right? So today when I came in, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to do some opposite action. Instead of avoiding her, like I've been doing over the last few days, and instead of just walking by the office, not making eye contact with her because I think she's mad at me, I'm going to go in there today. Okay, this is the opposite action. So my brain told me, don't interact, isolate yourself. She's mad at you. Fuck her, you got to move. So that's the narrative. Today I decided to challenge that narrative. So by challenging, I'm going to go with opposite action. And that looks like this. So when I got home today from my errands, knocked on the door. She came out. She still kind of had like this, withdrawn, tired look. And I was like, hey, let's just call her Susie. I was like, hey, Susie, just checking on you. I don't need anything today. I've noticed, you look really tired lately. She's like, really? You can tell? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, even with my mask on? And I'm like, yeah, I can definitely tell by your eyes, like, what's going on? Are you okay? And for the next couple of minutes, she was like, I'm so overwhelmed with work. There's so much to do. I feel like I'm drowning in my work. Boom. And in that moment, and then we had like a nice conversation. I asked her if she needed anything. Could I get her a cup of coffee or like a donut or something like that, And I told her when I left, like, hey, if there's anything you ever need, just let me know. And in that moment, I went from thinking this person is my adversary that doesn't like me to I've offered my help to someone else. I've checked in on someone else without asking for anything in return. I have let her know that I'm thinking about her and that I'm wondering if she's okay. And you know what? I bet that not a lot of people come in to do that. Maybe a handful of residents that she may know. And in that moment, that made me feel really good. And when I left, She was smiling, I was smiling, and we had a really great interaction. And this is a really great example of how using opposite action can, in an instant, pull you out of your narrative. You know, for the past 4 or 5 days, I've had this narrative that she doesn't like me and that I'm problematic and I gotta move, all this other stuff too. Oh, you know, this has nothing to do with me. She's overwhelmed. I hope she's okay. And I'm really glad that I'm in a job where I don't have bosses anymore. Believe me, I certainly had my share of them. So using opposite action in this way has proven to me over the years to really help not only get me out of my negative thinking and my narrative and challenge my beliefs, but it's also helped save relationships. So earlier when I talked a little bit about this description of what is opposite action, what the definition is, I said using opposite action when it's appropriate. So not every opportunity, every life event is going to be suitable for using opposite action. Okay, what are some instances that opposite action would be useful? Okay, well, for starters, the one I just named, right? Like if you're friends with somebody or you generally have a good relationship with somebody and now you see something's off or different, instead of isolating or creating your own narrative without that information, challenge yourself, do the opposite. Instead of isolating, instead of ignoring that person, reach out to that person, see if that person needs something. If you have been feeling bad because you've been procrastinating doing all of your chores, right? Like going to the pet store, going to the grocery store, getting your hair done, making that dental appointment. And in turn, procrastinating has made you feel less competent about yourself, then a great use of opposite action would be make those appointments and follow through with those appointments. But there's also going to be times where you are going to find that option is not viable, is not appropriate. For instance, breaking up with someone that's toxic, whether that's a friendship or breaking off a work relationship or breaking off from a part of your family or, of course, a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You know, I have dated some pretty toxic people, and of course I still think about the good times, which are about this much of the whole picture. But it's not appropriate for me to reach out to them because every time that I do, I know what happens. It's cyclical, and I've written that down to remind me. So that's an instance where, you know, acting on that emotion, the opposite of that emotion, would not be appropriate. Another example might be we're in the midst of a pandemic and you really want to go out and socialize with your friends and go to a bar or some other event. You want to go bowling, something, go indoors, spend time. And you're feeling lonely and you're feeling isolated and you really want to go out, but you have to ask yourself, is it the right time to act? But you know, you're feeling like maybe I shouldn't, maybe it's not safe. And you're feeling like perhaps that's not the right thing to do. That would be another example of when not to act on that opposite emotion. So you want to go out, you want to give into that social side, you want to be around people, you know that makes you feel good. It helps other parts of this disorder, but you also have to consider your own personal safety. So I hope that this video has been helpful and has demonstrated to you what the opposite action skill is. And I would love to hear if you've used this skill or when you have found yourself in a time recently where you could have used this skill. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.